I'm from Pennsylvania.
Wow.
My mom's from Jersey.
All right, we're rolling.
Okay.
I will, this isn't even part of the interview, but I will say that in the 30 years that I've been doing this luxury, some of your designs is some of the finest I've ever seen.
Oh, well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
It really is, and that's why I think, my God, I mean, how are they this young and yet has reached this level of sophistication? So here's my question.
Oh God, don't ask that. That's a tough one.
The ability to reach your level of sophistication, to take your craft and turn it into living art, is most often a reflection of the places you've been, the experiences you've shared, and the people you've loved along the way. What has shaped, what events, what people, what places have shaped you into the creative souls that you are?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I could overhear a little of Cindy, so similar. My mom went to art school. I grew up at a very young age, very into art and design. I've been taking private art lessons since I was probably 6 or 7. I did it all the way through high school. And I knew at probably 13, 14, I wanted to go to art school, not necessarily knowing I wanted to do interior design. And I wanted to go to school in New York specifically, even wanting to graduate high school early and skip my senior year because I just was more into like going to school for art than just kind of taking frivolous high school classes. And I don't know. I mean, like I used to spend, I don't know, once a month going to New York and like walking around to galleries in Chelsea and in Soho and going to the Philadelphia Museum of Art very regularly. So like I've just been like, just that is kind of who I am at my core. And then I went to art school and just, it's like where I grew. And I've fairly well traveled as well. I've been to Europe, the Bahamas. Like I've been in all over enough to, and lived in a lot of different places. As an adult, I've moved around between Florida, Baltimore, Pennsylvania, California, here, back to the East Coast. So I think that has kind of informed me also regionally, like because I was a hospitality interior designer prior to this, so doing hotel work specifically. I always did a lot of regional research wherever the hotel was. We tried to like incorporate a lot of that informative design to bring some of that into a project. And so I don't know, I just always wanted to do this. And then when I was in art school, I started out as a fashion major and moved into interior design because I thought the girls were very nasty in the fashion department. They were. And I just didn't feel like that was a good creative environment for me to be in, to be like in this cutthroat, like nasty environment. And so, I just kind of stuck with it, and I'm super passionate about it. And I think it's an everyday thing. You know, we constantly are sending each other things like through Instagram, like when we're not at work, through Instagram, Pinterest, and we're constantly like sharing.
I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You?
I would say similar into the aspect that I give a lot of credit to my mom. I think she could have been great at anything she wanted to be, you know. But growing up, she was always remodeling things, and you know, my sister and I were helping her paint and stain and faux finish this and faux finish that. And I never thought I wanted to do interior design. I thought I was going to do graphic design. That's what I like focused on in high school. And then I took a semester of graphic design and just did not like it. And I was at home one afternoon and I saw a commercial for an interior design school. And I was like, Mom, this is it. And I went and we toured the school, and it was like I was meant to be there. And it's just something I'm passionate about. I joke with Shannon that I feel like she should be like 60 years old because she's been like, I've lived here, and I've grown up in Chicago, and I moved to Vegas, and that's like the extent of where I've lived. And I haven't been to Europe. I've been to Mexico once and Costa Rica once, and that's about it. And she's always like, oh, and I lived here. And I was like, wow, like we're the same age, and so it's funny. But I mean, I grew up in Chicago where there's a lot of history and art and architecture, and so I was able to see a lot of that there. I'm also married to an architect, so him and I are constantly, going places and talking about, oh, well, that floor installation was awful, or they could have done this better, or whatever it might be. And I mean, we do that when we go out too.
Yeah,
We'll
it's
look at
hard to
something.
like you'll be in a restaurant and you're like, I mean, we can identify tile and texture and wall coverings, like where it came from, so it
Yeah.
definitely.
So
It's an everyday.
Yeah, and I think that Shannon and I together, make a great team because we're always bouncing things off of, each other, and we're not afraid to tell each other if we don't like something, or, hey, this might be better, whatever it might be. And so I think that also helps elevate, our end results here.
Yeah. And I'm a believer that I think there's a lot of designers and a lot of people that do this job. And I think, some people just like drawing, anyone can learn how to draw. Like it might take one person. Yeah. Some people are naturally inclined, and then some people could take enough art classes to learn how to draw on some level. And I think some people naturally have, not to say good taste, but like it's something I think you either have or you don't. You can design all day. There's different components of this job that anybody, if you go to school can do, but I always like use the example when I flip through like an architectural digest and I see like a house that has like an ICAT rug from 100 years ago and like a painting that's like a Renaissance style and like it's very eclectic, like that kind of taste level, and to be able to mix and like develop something like that is something that is a natural kind of ability. I think you learn things as you go, and a lot of that is from, I think, making mistakes. I think sometimes when you make mistakes through your career, you kind of like can fine tune, but a level of taste, I think, is also something that is just kind of innate. It gets sharper, but I think you kind of either have it or you don't. You either know how to put certain things together. That's why there's people that don't go to school for this and can put things together. And then there are people that, like us, that have a 4-year degree where you understand it from several facets: the technical part of the job, the drafting, all the parts and pieces, not just the pretty things. Because I think a lot of people just think it's the pretty things. And it's a lot more than that. You'll screw up the house if you just know how to do this.
Yeah, and I think that, having different backgrounds and having different jobs and not being in one, area of design your whole career helps you understand all of those aspects. Like, I started in millwork because when I got out of school, the recession hit and it was like, I need a job. And so the millwork company that I worked at was hiring, and that's where I went. And so I have this great understanding of how things are put together and how, a cabinet affects a countertop and, the countertop affects the tile and all of those aspects. And, working at my last firm, we did, massive homes with a ton of complexities that, you learn from your mistakes, and it helps you understand how one thing can trigger the next and affect the next thing. And, that served me well. And one thing my mom always told me growing up, my sister, both of us, that if somebody wants to teach you something, you don't say no, because you never know when it's going to come in handy. And so, I remember I went to CNC training on a router with these 50-year-old men, and I was in my 20s learning how to use this big machinery, but she's like, you never know when. And that's how I got my next job, And so it's all these things that have helped us get to this point in our careers to understand all the aspects.
Yeah.
Talent or strong suit isn't.
Okay. Well, actually, we were with a client a couple days ago, and because they might be separating us. We have become kind of friendly with this couple, and they're buying a second home with us. And so we've done the first one, that's 44 that you went in today, and now we're doing another one. And we just let them know that, like, because we were talking to them openly, we're like, they might separate us, because we were in a moment in a meeting where we were designing something. It might have been like a lighting plan, and Rachel had a very strong opinion about like doing it one way, and I was saying do it this way, and then we like hashed it out in front of them, not in a bad way, but just like we talked it through in front of them. And then Jason was like, see, this is why we need you guys to stay together, because like we get this open dialogue, this like dynamic between you two. And he was like, if it's someone that's more of an assistant, they might stay quiet in a meeting and not feel like they can like share or interject or give their 2 cents, where Rachel and I are definitely, we see each other as equals and, you know, same. And so we are comfortable like hashing it out in front of a client, and like really design is fluid. And I think, you know, and we have told Chris Stumer this, that like the reason we like to partner, and I think both of our experience being in a firm setting is it usually is a team. It's never just like one person doing an entire project. And I think design, when it's done in a vacuum solo, is where it's kind of not the best. You know, it is the collaboration, it is the bouncing ideas off of one another, and like we trust each other, and each other's tastes and our judgment making, that like, you know, and sometimes one of us doesn't feel as passionate about something, and it's just like you sit back and you're just like, all right, you know, maybe
really
your
love
idea is
this,
better, and you let it win, because that's it. But Rachel is extremely detail oriented, and and I don't want to say this is your best quality because she's everything, but her notes are like I call it like a court reporter. It's like she's writing a docket. Like it's like intense, and it's amazing, because without those notes, you know, we wouldn't be able to effectively do our job the way that we've gotten into a flow of like pushing the process through in a more expedited fashion, in the sense of like not having to meet with someone 10 times and paring it down. And she has helped. Those notes are everything outside of just her natural abilities as a designer and her taste and this, you know, she's amazing. But that, like, I think is unique, because not everybody that I've worked with has ever done that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like this all comes from past experience and knowing like what you need to write down, and you know, because it's come back to bite me in the butt before, that, you know, a client said this, or, you know, you said that. And so like I always had things written down, and I remember one client in the past was like, I didn't agree to this, and I was like, oh yes you did. And I was like, let me find my note and let me find that email. And you know, and so it's a backup to have, because when you're going through everything, it's really hard to, you know, memorize it all. You try and like, that's one other thing that makes a good designer is, you know, kind of memorizing everything that you're talking about, and you know, knowing what a client said or what they liked or what they didn't like, or if you're using, you know, one cabinet in 4 locations, to remember those locations. And it's funny that, you know, Shannon brings up the client who's like, oh, I like when you hash it out, because we also have another client, a husband and wife, who are super great, and they're like, oh, we love when you guys go at it, like not in like a bad way, but we're like, no, I disagree with this, or I like this, you know. And so that is one thing. And I mean, like, you know, Shannon's fabulous, and you know, we come from 2 different backgrounds. So, you know, I have a more residential background, and so I don't know things as technical as Shannon does, because in hospitality, she had to know all the technical aspects. And there are definitely times when we're talking about things that she is like the technical guru for things, and it's awesome, because that's not my strength. That is 100% her strength. And, you know, she knows all of that world, being in the hospitality and hotel business, whereas in, you know, in residential, you would just bring in the low voltage person, or you would bring in whoever, and they would talk that lingo to everybody, and you would take your notes, and that's how you would do it. Where, you know, Shannon can talk the talk and walk the walk, so she's fab.
Thank you.
On their first meeting with you,
Well, I mean, I think, like, you know, we always try and touch base with the client before they step foot in the design center, so we can kind of get that relationship going. And I know, you know, one thing that sales asks, and, you know, Gabby, who touches base with them, is, you know, start looking at Pinterest. And when we reach out to a client, we're like, if you don't, you know, do the whole Pinterest thing, look in magazines, and when you come in here, have those images with you. Or if you go out to dinner and you like some, you know, fabric on the wall or a tile, Or, I mean, we always also say that sometimes it's easier to pinpoint what you don't like versus what you do like. So show us those pictures of what you don't like, because then that starts the conversation. And I mean, a lot of clients can walk in here and say, oh, I like this or I like that, but I don't like this, I don't like that. And it's just an easy way to start the conversation. And, we have condensed in these 2-day meetings, and it really helps clients like dive in and super focus on the process and what they want out of it. And so I think that's helpful, because they know, okay, I'm coming here for 2 days and I need to have my pictures, or I need to know what I like or what I don't like. Or are you bringing some artwork or furniture that you're going to, put in the house? Because that also helps start, for us to start the conversation and build, their hard surfaces and paint colors and linings from the get-go.
And I think when we don't agree, because like definitely we just had a client who brought that like stickly furniture.
Oh yeah.
I don't want them to ever watch the video and be able to identify themselves.
No,
Like, that was me. Because it's the only client that I think would ever bring something like that into this house. But they're like, oh, we have all this beautiful stickly furniture. I'm like, stickly furniture in this house? What?
Very traditional.
And like in my head, I'm like, I mean, that's like a craftsman home in like, San Francisco, not this. And, that's what they're like, oh, we're bringing all this. We thought we'd use the dining table.
Yeah.
And we're like, and I think whenever, I know Rachel and I, like, we wear this, like, we are in sync. And so we don't have to really say much to one another. And we both know, like, and we just kind of, there's a gentle way to make a client see that is not the best choice for what, because I mean, as you build something like this, and then you're like, hold on, bring out those furniture pictures again.
Yeah.
And you can make them realize themselves like, oh yeah, that does not go.
That's not the best.
That's not the best choice. And I mean, there are several clients that we when it comes to art or an area rug or, I'm trying to think what else clients have brought that like actually
light fixtures. I mean, we did have a
worked that
client who they've brought light fixtures, and you're like, oh, those are the light fixtures?
She
And
talked
you're
them
like,
up.
ooh, okay. And you're like, well, you know what? Let's make a special moment for them in the powder room, or, in your master bathroom. And then that's where you like make them shine, and you pull in different things that maybe you wouldn't pull in the whole house. And so it feels like they're having their moment, and they're getting to bring whatever it might be with them, but you're still creating like a holistic space that flows, but you're not focused on like that one item.
Yeah. And there are, I remember I had a client once who was like, it's so sad. Her husband had passed away. She was living in one of our other homes in Southern Highlands for years, and she just couldn't let go of her stuff and wanted to bring it. And I think once she moved in the house, or once the house was finished, and she had convinced herself, like, I can't let any of this stuff go. It had sentimental value. And she walked in that place, and she was like, it was like Tuscan. She was like, I can't bring it. And I think it's easier when they make the decision that it doesn't work than us sometimes telling because it can be perceived sometimes as like rude or, it depends on the client.
Yeah.
But
they're looking out for their best interest.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Um,
So like some of like the tub shrouds and the like that open master feel, a lot of that is reminiscent of a hotel. And I think I'd say 50% of our clients come in here and they're like, I want to run with that. Like I want to run with that like contemporary hotel feel, similar to the model. And then you just start honing in on like, I like grays and I like this and I like that. And Rachel and I try to keep it fresh by going into a lot of different showrooms and pulling new things pretty regularly, so that we're also not spitting out the same thing for every client. And you just, she wanted like Vegas glam, and that's what she got.
Yeah.
If I'm watching this and I'm this potential buyer, tell me what should I do? What is the perfect formula for the absolute, to get the best out of Rachel and Shannon, to get the best out of my own sense of personal expression? What has to all come together for that to happen?
I mean, we always ask clients to do their homework, and I really believe that the clients that we have had more recently, that it seemed like the process goes smoother, the house holistically feels more whole, are the clients that do their homework. They have, either looked on Pinterest or looked on House. I mean, we had a client recently who went on House, and they like put notes in and was like, I like this. wall tile, but I don't like the countertop or whatever it might be. And they spent the time because, this is a really big purchase. And for some people, it's the largest purchase they've ever made. And if you don't do your homework, it's hard for us to give you the best versions of ourselves because we're kind of shooting in the dark. And so I would say, do your homework for sure.
And then, we'll pull it up in a meeting.
Yeah.
Like we've had clients invite us to their Pinterest board or they email us their house link and we'll pull it up, in order to do this for the clients that actually do their homework, give us some sort of aesthetic point of view of what they want the house to look or feel like. Then we pull it up and start kind of building around that or the information we just got out of a meeting with a client and he was able to be like, I want blonde floors and this and this and this. And he gave us enough of 5 or 6 main finishes that he wanted that we can pull the rest together. And we have a pretty good batting average. We'll put one of these tables out and I'd say usually 3 or 4 things get changed. We've had a client walk in and not change a single thing. Just based on either knowing the client, getting to know the client, the images, or just some clients that don't, like 117.
Yeah,
we kind of had a small idea, but also when you have an unlimited budget, magic can happen.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the budget comment, it's also really helpful if you're able to say, oh, I want to spend this, or even it's just, I want to close the house with the pool at this number, because, we're able to work backwards and say, oh, okay, well, if you do this, then we won't do this. Or, we can pre-plan for this and you could do it post-close if it doesn't fit into the budget. And so, the homework and having that budget conversation, because it could spiral quickly if you're, not prepared for any of it.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a couple last questions. If I asked you to take me to the home of any Christopher home you've done, which is your finest moment, where would you take me? And why?
For me personally, I would say it would either be, there's 2 houses. It would either be View Estates 121 that we just closed. The homeowner was a designer herself, and so she was she was really a part of what we picked, but she wasn't afraid, to make different choices or selections. And so that house to me felt holistic, and when you walked in, it didn't feel ultra modern, and it felt warm and inviting. And the same with Viewpoint Lot 10. It was an older couple coming from California, and they were kind of one of those couples who they wanted to bring some of their old furniture with them, and we were kind of but we got to know them, and it didn't feel like this ultra modern house. It felt warm and inviting, and they ended up hiring an outside designer to do furniture and light fixtures. And she said to Shannon and I at one of their last walks that she was at, and she was like, you guys nailed them on the head. She's like, their house is absolutely 100% them. She's like, and this is a great palette for us to just start off of. She's like, nothing in here feels that it's not them. And so for me, hearing that from not just people within our company saying, oh, that house turned out great, but an outside designer saying, everything looks great, is just that added value that, oh, you did do a good job on this house kind of thing. And they're really happy. So I would say for me, those are the 2. I know which one it should be for you.
So personally for me would be Lot 124, which was the home that has the casita and View Estates. And it was a very long build because of the casita. But the whole house was turnkey. He didn't not do anything. He wanted to be able to move in and not have to touch anything. So it has all the bells and whistles. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. We have it it's going to be in our marketing material. Not my personal taste. And I would say that's one thing I can say about both of us is that a lot of residential design, very famous one, Kelly Wersler. There's all these very famous interior designers that design from a personal aesthetic and standpoint, and you could be like, that's that person's design. That's Jonathan Adler. That's this. That's that. And that's David Hicks. And obviously in our particular role here, that's not the name of the game. We're not, we're not trying to like make it look like Rachel and Shannon's house. We're trying to make it look like the homeowner or the client's house. And I love the house, the Casita house. I think it's beautiful. It's not something that personally I would live in, but it's gorgeous. The courtyard, the landscaping, like we did the entire thing, and I'm pretty proud of it. But yeah, I think that's the cool thing. As you were to go through all the homes that we've probably done in the last year and a half together, that they are really like unique to the client. Like they really,
they're individuals
Yeah.
versus like all the same.
yeah, they're not, because I think before I started, a lot of clients, and maybe it's because of who was working here, I don't really know, but it seemed like a lot of regurgitation of just what the models looked like I want the model. But I think, Rachel and I don't want to regurgitate someone else's work. We want it to be one, a reflection of the client, and then two, unique for us as well, so that it's a little exciting for us creatively to be involved in the project. So I think that's important.
That's very good. I asked this question of everybody, but I think you two have probably the most influential role in it. But as I mentioned, Peter and I, 30 years. You can name any home builder, and we've probably represented them at some point. But nobody's ever created the kind of following that Christopher Holmes has as a home builder. Not only people buying their third or fourth, fifth Christopher home, but realtors going out of their way to market the fact that if one hits the resale market, they have to make sure everybody knows it's a Christopher home. What do you attribute that rare following or followers or a builder that's been able to create a following like that?
I mean, I always say, like, people who buy a Christopher home, they automatically think they're going to live this particular lifestyle. So it's not just you're buying a house, you're buying some kind of lifestyle, whatever it might be. But I really do feel that way about, Christopher Homes and a few other builders, is that, people think, oh, I'm going to live in this house and I'm going to live in this area, in this neighborhood, and I'm going to drive X car, and, my view is going to be this or whatever it might be. But it's not just about the house, it's about the lifestyle. So, I mean, I think that plays a big role, especially in the Las Vegas market, because, I mean, if you think about it, it's all about the bright lights and, everything here. And when you come up here, it is magical. And if you go to Southern Highlands, those houses are still beautiful, different type of home, but still beautiful. And it is another type of lifestyle. And up here, it is a lifestyle. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I mean, because every house is unique and different, but it is like there are beautiful communities. And
yeah, and I think like before Blue Heron existed, there's not, everybody else is like a builder that is not just in Las Vegas. Lennar, Toll, like all those people are national. And so there are only a couple of people in the market here in Las Vegas that are just kind of here. Well, although we're in Utah, but relatively just here. And I think people also think that we're like a full-blown custom home builder. I mean, it's good for us. But I completely agree with Rachel. But it's like, why do you wear a Prada blouse? Like it's the same thing. It's like,
it's like a statement. Almost, it seems.
Yeah, it's more of like a branding kind of thing. I mean, I also think this particular project, which wouldn't cover the whole Christopher Holmes family of, projects we've done, is very unique for where we are, what we look like,
the amenities.
The amenities, there's no one else really in Vegas doing this right now with these views and this style of home. So I think for this particular thing, I think that's why we are so popular.
Yeah, and I also think like the people who rebuy, a Christopher home, it has to do with like your experience here. Everything is about giving the client and the homeowner the best experience. And I've always worked at small companies. I've never worked for large corporations that you're just a name on, a desk or a door or whatever it might be. And I feel like everybody here who buys, you end up being a part of this Christopher Homes family. And when they see you, you wave. And when you know, might be in the sales office and they might pop in because they saw you, or whatever it might be. It's not just, you know, I'm buying a house and you're going to bye, see you later, we got your money, you know, kind of thing. It's no. And 5 years from now, if you need something, you know, we're always going to be here. So I think that plays a role too.
Yeah. And I mean, we have several, I mean, I think I've worked on 10 homes that are either repeat at the View to View Estates and bought within a very small, you know, 2 homes within a very small period, or clients that moved from the Southern Highlands community and came over here and bought. So, you know, it's, I think for them, it's not just a quality and like the lifestyle, like Rachel is saying, I think they do. I mean, the couple of clients that are coming to mind are very, you know, they know our sales department really well. Like they kind of know a lot of us. And I think it's also because of our relationships with the clients that they want to come back and buy and have the experience again. Because if I would assume if it was not a good experience, they would not be coming back.
And that's important. So if you can expand on what we do different from the client's perspective, how do you change their life? I mean, you guys are helping them create a dream. And maybe use some of these phrases in when you spit this back out, but we're helping these clients create their dream home, and you're helping them do that. But from the client's perspective, what do you think the client is getting out of the relationship that you're building with that client, and what do they get? Why are we different? And
Well, I think like
That's easy. I mean, why are we different from another home builder? I mean, I could start a list. I mean, first, you know, we are like interior designers. We've gone to school for this. We're not just people that have good taste and are decorators. There is a difference. So, I mean, that's one compared to like a Toll or a Lennar or Horton or whatever all those other ones are. Also, the complexity of the options that we have, I think you need someone with our background rather than it's just picking a couple of things. The client we had today was like, but I think part of the reason he bought here is he knows we're not a custom home builder, but he felt like we had so many options that he could get really what he wants without going full, you know, like to a custom home builder. I mean, we have a director of happiness. I don't know how many other places have that. I mean, the celebratory things that we do for clients, that we really try to engage them through the process, like really starting with when they buy, because Kim Stumer is such an amazing sales agent. And she's so, she is someone that, I mean, even just like as employees working with her, like she's just, like you just gravitate towards her. And I think potential clients do. So I think like all the way through, and then Rachel and I try to be as accessible, like clients text us, we reply, we're kind of available to them. And although we don't do furniture and those items, we are very open to clients like asking opinions, giving them recommendations on where to go, who to see, like where to buy.
Yeah, and I also feel like it comes down to all the people that we're surrounded by, like not just sales, it's, the people behind the scenes too, because there are so many people that help, make everything a great experience. And all of the people that work here, I don't feel like there is one person that is uptight or snobby. Everybody is super personable. Everybody wants to get to know the homeowner and the buyer throughout the experience and making their, all their pivotal moments in the home building experience great. And even if there's not a great moment, and it's okay, well, how do we turn that buyer around, and how do we make, get them to be back on the happy train? And it's not just let's leave them out over there and we're not gonna hit the the issue head on. And it, I think also one of the other things is Shannon and I recently spec'd a tile that we were very passionate about, and the framing did not align with how we would wanted it installed. And so, we met the VP of operations at the lot with our director, and we looked at it and we were like, look at how cool this tile is. Like, we have
Please
to fix
let us
it.
do it.
Please let us fix it. And, you know, he's like, all right, adjust the framing to how you need it done. Because we want this homeowner to be happy. They pick this, you know, this is a part of making their house a home. And I think that's one of the coolest things is, you know, there's all of these, you know, nothing is perfect. There's a lot of struggles in building a house from point A to point B. And one of the cool things is that seeing the homeowners walk in their house when it is done and it is completed and see the expression on their face, and it makes whatever hardship happened during the process 100% worth it, because you've gotten to know these buyers, and Shannon and I, we engage, you know, homeowners. We get to know, do they have kids? Do they have grandkids? Do they have pets? Where do the kids live if they don't live here? You know, how old are the grandkids? Whatever it might be, that, you know, when, you know, they are finished with their project, that all of these people are going to be in this house and going to make it a home. And so, you know, I feel like that sets us apart, because we definitely take a client through a completely different experience. It truly is like building a custom house without building a custom house.
I think, I think our entire company, people, like our accounting department, like, although they don't engage with the client, like, I think that's the biggest thing. We are all like engaged. I think most, if not everyone, is very passionate about like their particular role in the company. And I think it shows. And I think, you know, I think we all want a client to be happy and be happy with the product, their home, and be able to move in and like have memories, and, you know, it be the space they want to be in, not the place they want to like not be in or sell.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've saved a lot of marriages.
I always joke that, like, you are a therapist.
Yeah.
I mean,
I bet.
there are so many homeowners, and not just here, and, you know, in any firm setting where you have to like juggle the husband who's like sitting here with the notebook on how much she's spending, with the wife who I just want her to be happy.
That's the hardest
And
thing
so
about
that
this
is
job.
hard.
Like,
Yeah.
from commercial, I didn't deal with that. You know, like, I would deal with, you know, franchisee owner and Marriott. You know, I didn't have to deal. It wasn't where they were living personally, so they weren't invested on that level. They cared what it looked like, but not like that. And so, me working here, that has been probably my biggest. I mean, I'm good at it now, but like initially, I was like, "Get me out of here! This is like awful. All they're doing is arguing." and I've learned to, you know, develop that skill.
Yeah.
But it was definitely something that is a huge difference between commercial design and residential.
Yeah.